Let me ask you something right now. How many times have you looked at someone younger than you, someone killing it in business, launching a startup, building a brand, and quietly told yourself, I missed my window? How many times have you typed something into Google, started reading about a new skill or opportunity, and then closed the tab because a little voice said, what's the point? You're too old for this now.
If that's you, if that thought has ever stopped you from even trying, I need you to watch this entire video, because I'm about to dismantle one of the most dangerous lies that society has ever planted in your head, the idea that success has an expiry date. It doesn't. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to prove it to you with real names, real science, and a perspective that might completely change the way you see the rest of your life.
Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, I am so glad this video found you today, because I think you needed it. Today, we are talking about age, not in a feel-good, vague, motivational poster kind of way. We are going deep. We are confronting the real reason so many brilliant, capable people stop chasing their dreams, not because they run out of talent, not because opportunities disappear, but because they convince themselves that time has already run out.
We live in a world that is obsessed with youth. Every headline celebrates the 25-year-old millionaire, the teenage app developer, the college dropout who built a billion-dollar company before their first gray hair. And when you consume that kind of content day after day, something shifts inside you. You start to believe that if you haven't made it by a certain age, the door has closed. You start measuring your potential against someone else's timeline. You start shrinking yourself to fit into a box that was never built for you in the first place. But here is the truth. The stories you see going viral are the exception, not the rule. The average successful entrepreneur is not 22. The average person who builds something meaningful, something lasting, something real, they are older than the highlight reels suggest. And today, we are going to talk about why that is, why it matters, and what you are going to do about it starting today. Let's start with some names you definitely know, because the real stories behind them are not told often enough. Vera Wang, one of the most iconic fashion designers alive. You might assume she started young, right? Wrong. Vera Wang didn't design her first professional wedding gown until she was 40 years old. Before that, she was a competitive figure skater who didn't make the Olympic team and then spent years as an editor at Vogue. 40 years old is when the chapter most people know her for even began. Colonel Harlan Sanders, the face of KFC. He was 65 years old when he started franchising his chicken recipe. 65. He had spent decades running small restaurants, hit failure after failure, and then got into his car and drove across America, pitching his recipe door to door. He was rejected more than 1,000 times before someone said yes. 1,000 rejections at retirement age, and he built one of the most recognized brands in the history of the world. Julia Child didn't publish her first cookbook until she was 49. She didn't even learn to cook seriously until her late 30s. She went on to become one of the most beloved figures in American culinary history and a television icon. Grandma Moses, the beloved American folk artist, picked up a paintbrush for the first time at 78 years old because arthritis made her embroidery too painful. She painted until she was 101. Her work now sells for millions at auction. Charles Darwin published On the Origin of Species at 50. J.R.R. Tolkien published The Lord of the Rings in his 60s. Ray Kroc didn't partner with McDonald's until he was 52 and turned it into a global empire. Pension-age entrepreneurs, middle-aged scientists, late-blooming artists. The pattern is everywhere once you start looking.
Now let's talk about the science, because this isn't just about inspirational stories. The data is clear. Researchers at Northwestern University and MIT studied who actually produces the most transformative breakthroughs, and here is what they found. The average age of scientists at the time of their Nobel Prize-winning work is around 40. Studies on entrepreneurship consistently show that founders in their 40s and 50s launch more successful and more durable companies than founders in their 20s. Not because youth doesn't matter. It does in certain fields. But because experience, emotional intelligence, networks, and resilience compound over time in ways that raw energy simply cannot replace. Experience is not a consolation prize for aging. It is a strategic weapon. When you are 40, 50, or 60, you bring something to every room that no 22-year-old can manufacture overnight. You understand how people behave. You know how industries shift. You've sat with failure long enough to learn what it actually teaches. You have patience, perspective, and a depth of real-world knowledge that only comes from living through things, not reading about them. These qualities are not weaknesses. They are exactly what separates the people who build something lasting from the people who build something fast. So where does the too old myth actually come from? It comes from comparison. It comes from watching someone else's carefully curated highlight reel and measuring it against your unfiltered, messy, behind-the-scenes reality. It comes from a media and marketing industry that profits from making you feel inadequate. And most of all, it comes from fear, because "I'm too old" feels much safer to say out loud than "I'm scared to try and fail." One sounds like a fact. The other is a feeling wearing a fact's costume. And deep down, you already know the difference. Here is something I want you to sit with for a moment. Fear doesn't care how old you are. A 22-year-old launching their first business is terrified. A 55-year-old switching careers is terrified. Fear is not proof that you are doing the wrong thing. Fear is very often proof that you are doing the right thing, the thing that genuinely matters to you. If you weren't scared, it probably wouldn't mean much. So what do you actually do with all of this? Because inspiration without action is just entertainment. Let me give you 3 concrete things you can do right now. The first thing is to stop calculating backward and start projecting forward. Instead of torturing yourself with, "If I had started 10 years ago, I'd already be there," ask yourself this instead. "If I start today, where could I be in 5 years, in 10? Because 10 years from now, you will be 10 years older whether you start or not. The only question is whether you'll arrive at that future with something you built, or arrive there still wondering what would have happened if you had just begun." The second thing is to stop letting other people's timelines define yours. Someone starting young does not make your start less valid. A tree that takes 20 years to bear fruit is not a failed tree. It is a different tree. Your path has its own pace, its own shape, its own destination. The comparison game is completely rigged, and the only way to win it is to stop playing entirely. The third thing is to take one real step today. Not a plan, not a Pinterest board, not a "I'll seriously start Monday" promise. Today. Watch one tutorial, write one paragraph, send one email, make one phone call. Because momentum never comes before the first action. It always comes from it. Every person you admire started somewhere small, somewhere imperfect, somewhere terrifying. That starting point is available to you right now. I want to leave you with one final thought, and I want you to carry it with you long after this video ends. Imagine yourself years from now, looking back on this exact moment, this point in your life where you heard someone tell you it wasn't too late. What would hurt more, having tried something and not gotten it right, or having never tried at all because you convinced yourself the window had already closed.
Study after study on human regret shows the same thing. People don't lie on their deathbeds regretting the things they tried and failed at. They regret the chances they never took, the ideas they never pursued, the doors they never even knocked on. Don't let a number, a birthday, a decade, a milestone you think you missed be the reason you add to that list.
You are not too old. You are not too late. You are exactly the right age to have the wisdom, the experience, and the clarity to build something that actually matters. Success does not have an expiry date. It never did. The only thing that expires is the time you spend convincing yourself that it does. If this video sparked something in you today, do me a favor. Hit that like button, share this with someone in your life who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. And drop a comment below telling me one thing you are going to start right now, no matter your age. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to cheer you on.
Because the best chapter of your story, it just might be the one you haven't written yet. I'll see you in the next video.